What an amazing, peaceful place we live in. Peaceful village right here, Tierra Libertad. Yeah! Hello and welcome to the most peaceful place where the fruiting plants and animals roam free. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of them as they make this piece of haven very enjoyable for all. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming to Peaceful Village. I'm Michael Anfield from Peaceful Village, Raw Vegan Healing Community. And today's video is about overpopulation. Is there an overpopulation issue? How many people actually live on this earth? According to government statistics, there's probably now between, 8 or 7.5 billion to 8.5 billion people. But it comes from the government or multiple governments, so we really don't know actually how many people truly are living on this earth. Just like we really don't know how many people are into religion or how many people are into Christianity or into Islam or into Judaism. We really don't know. There are estimates, but we don't really know. So it can be 5 billion, it could be 2 billion, it could be 500 million. We really don't know. We really don't know. It's like same thing when people say, oh, that album, CD album, it sold 100 million copies. Well, in some way you can kind of guesstimate. And also what tends to happen is that every time an album is sold, for example, they tally that up. So they know, okay, now one more person bought it, now another person bought it. And they know this because of the barcode, right? So let's say, for example, I buy this CD from the manufacturer, and now I want to sell it. So I'm a reseller, or I have a store or something, and I want to sell the album. They, from the barcode, if you're not selling it under the table without government interference, without taxes, without this kind of stuff, anarchist basically, and just collect the money and that's it, and forget about scanning barcodes and all this kind of nonsense. Ultimately it won't be counted. It'll still be counted because the person who originally bought it from the manufacturer that basically has the barcode. So I think they tally it up basically once the barcode is on the product. So that's the ISBN, International Standard Bar Number or something like that. So anyways, we really don't know how many people are really on the earth. Their estimates based on some kind of, I don't know what it is, but based on the government and or government agencies. But what do I feel about overpopulation? Do I really think there is overpopulation issue? Well, overpopulation, I'm talking about human overpopulation, right? Now, people say if everyone ate like an American, like a United States person, we would need at least 3 or 4 Earths to sustain us. Most of the world is eating animals and animal products, from eggs to honey to cheese to milk to the flesh of animals, all sorts of products that come from animals. Also clothing that comes from animals, testing, entertainment on animals, animals used for pets, and so forth. So, um, yeah, it's a problem if people are eating the way that most of us, most of humanity is eating in the world. But is there really an overpopulation issue? What do I think about this? Okay, so the thing we need to realize is that governments want people, and big mega corporations want humanity amalgamated into big cities and towns. They don't want people living in rural areas. No, because it's harder to track them, harder to confine them, harder to enslave them, to manipulate them, harder to do many things, you know. So the whole idea for governments is really that they want people in towns and cities, big towns and big cities. Yeah, they don't want people living in small areas where there's basically in rural areas. They want people living in urban or suburban areas. Yeah. And I lived for most of my life in suburban areas. I did not ever live in any urban area. I always lived in suburban areas. So downtown areas I never lived in any downtown area. So suburban area is where most of my life I've been living. And now for the last many years, I've been living off and on, and now, of course, more permanently in nature, in rural areas. So, I think there is an overpopulation issue, for sure. There's too many people, but there are too many people in towns and cities. We need to get out of towns and cities. Because if we don't get out of towns and cities and go back to nature, what's going to happen? Well, they're just going to keep building these cities bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. These towns bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the population almost always increases over time in these places. In all towns and cities, basically. Sometimes certain towns, they become ghost towns or the population goes down, but usually the population goes up, especially if the town or the city is close to a bigger city or mega city. So when people are in these kinds of environments, in towns and cities, artificial and polluted towns and cities, which all of them are polluted nowadays, some more than others, of course, we usually have to work very, very hard in jobs that really do not fulfill us spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. And when we have kids, children, we often, and nowadays with especially in the United States, but many Western countries and basically all over the world nowadays, especially now that United States is importing a lot of garbage stuff to eat, and cans and bottles and so forth, basically with a lot of chemicals and a lot of additives and a lot of all kinds of things. It's not organic and definitely is not healthy. So when they do that, we can see the population kind of going down a little bit. Less children and more disease and this kind of things. So anyways, in towns and cities, people are struggling. I know from what I've heard and what I've seen from people that live there and also from documentaries, that it's unaffordable for many people in the United States. It's unaffordable in many areas, very unaffordable people have to take on 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet, and sometimes they can't make ends meet even with 2 or 3 jobs. So it's horrible. I've even heard of ridiculous things like rent for an apartment between $5,000, $10,000, even $20,000 per month for regular 1-bedroom apartments. It's like $20,000. Who's making $20,000 a month nowadays? Nobody. So I don't know. I mean, for example, in Canada, there's also problems where people are paying skyrocket. The rent is skyrocketing, and they're allowed, according to. I mean, they're not allowed. I've seen some documents where it says that every year in certain cities, and even in the United States, for example, probably Europe too, that in certain jurisdictions, they and municipalities, they are only allowed to increase the rent each year by a certain percent. But what has happened in many places, the rent has gone double or triple even, just in the last 1 or 2 years, double or triple. So imagine, like, people are living there, they're paying, let's say, $1,000, and all of a sudden now they have to pay $2,000. So now people are outraged because the rent is so much more. It's double. Imagine, when usually it's a few percent that they can increase it. The landlords or the owners can increase it every year. So yeah, I think the problem is the people amalgamating into the cities and towns and having all these children in these places that ultimately they're struggling. So now they're struggling to feed their kids, or yeah, they go to these places in the United States like McDonald's and things that you get a burger for $1, for example. So it's very cheap. So you can eat the whole day for a few dollars, basically. In some other places, McDonald's is really, really, really expensive. So it depends. But the whole idea is that in these places, if we have children, if we're bearing children and taking care of children, we need to earn a lot more money, especially nowadays when the inflation is skyrocketing. It just keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up. And especially now the US dollar is very high. Euro is also very high. So there's problems associated with living in towns and cities. Also, we rely on governments for our water, our electricity, our housing, all this kind of thing. We're not doing anything ourselves. We're not relying on our own power, because we've lost that power. The power to do anything ourselves. So to get our own water, to collect our own water, to get our own electricity somehow, and yeah, to get our own land and all this kind of thing, to build our own buildings, these kinds of things. We've lost all the teachings, all the innate teachings that we had for many thousands and thousands of years. So we don't know how to do anything nowadays. Nowadays, when we have something like a T-shirt that is torn or is ripped or whatever, people buy a new one, or they just take it to a place and the guy fixes it for them, or the lady fixes it for them, or if they go to a laundry mat, we basically don't do anything ourselves. We rely for health. We rely on the system. We rely on education on the system. We rely on the system, the society. We rely on food, so getting it from supermarkets or other small stores. So we rely everything on society. So we don't we're not self-sustainable. We have no clue. For example, if we want to fix a shoe, or if we want to fix anything, for example, we don't know how to do that, because we if we want to build something like a house or anything, we don't know how to do that. If we want to sew something, we don't know how to do that. Many people just don't know. When they want to prepare a meal, for example, a lot of people don't even know how to do that. They don't even know how to make a smoothie, or how to make a juice, or even how to cook anything. Because we've lost all that innate learning and teaching, and that whatever is instilled within us, we've lost all of that teaching. So now we're completely relying on outside authorities for helping us with our health, with our education, and we trust them like they're doing the best thing for us. And then when we don't trust them, or there's something not right, we complain. But it's just begging, basically begging to the government. My son or my daughter is not getting good education, or they're removing physical education, or they're removing this or removing that, or whatever. It's all horrible. It's all part of the system. We need to get out of the system. We need to start being self-reliant and stop relying on authorities, outside authorities, to help us. So this is the key. So overpopulation is a problem, but only in the towns and cities, right? All beings are able to procreate. All beings that are able to procreate should procreate, because that's the natural biological function of the beings. Us humans, for example, all beings deserve to be in nature. Plants, animals, both non-human and human animals, mycelium, all the animals, all the plants deserve to be out in nature, deserve to be free in nature. I don't mean in cold climates, in the blizzard weather, when it's December or January or something, is so cold. I don't mean going outside in the freezing weather and sleeping in the snow. That's not what I mean. I mean biologically living where we are supposed to be living, in the tropical areas of the world, subtropical or tropical areas of the world, in warm climates, not on high mountains, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000 meters, whatever, in freezing cold weather, in very warm climates, growing all of our own food, veganically, not contaminating any of the land and using domesticated animals in any way. So all beings deserve, at least the ones that are able to procreate, should give birth. That's it. And once we start eating more and more and more healthy, less and less we're going to be looking or going for sex for pleasure. I know there's many raw vegans, or people who are going raw vegan, and myself, in fact, our libidos actually go down. So the sex libido goes down. I don't know what it is, but it balances somehow. In society, in towns and cities, there are extremes with the way humans live their lives sexually. So, for example, there are many, countless people who have absolutely no sexual desire. They completely lost their sexual desire. They're either asexual or celibate or things like this, and they absolutely lost their sexual desire, or they choose not to have sex. But then on the other extreme, on the flip side, there are people that they're like, all the way on top. They're on a mountain having sex with virtually anyone. prostitutes, their wives or husbands or spouses, their partners, this kind of thing, and sometimes it's not enough, and one of them needs more, usually the men, and they go for someone else because maybe their partner doesn't satisfy them completely. So yeah, there's too much opposite ends of the spectrum. There's nothing in between. According to many spiritual teachers, many of them say that the truly enlightened or truly awakened human being should have no more than have sex no more than 1 or 2 times per year. 1 or 2 times per year. So imagine having sex or ejaculating once or twice every year. Imagine this. Now, what I've noticed with myself, for example, is that, before I used to ejaculate a lot. I used to masturbate and ejaculate a lot, very frequently, many times per week. There wasn't a week going by that I did not masturbate at least once or twice. However, sometimes when I was in situations where there was no privacy, and I was with family or in other situations where I didn't have my privacy, it would be, of course, much less frequent, but it would still be at least once a week. Nowadays, it's much less than once weekly. Sometimes it's twice, 3 times weekly, and then sometimes it's once a month. So it really depends. But usually it's much less frequently than before. So that means that the population of humanity, if people were living in rural areas, would be drastically reduced, or at least it would stabilize, and there wouldn't be as many people on the earth. So this would consume, or this amount of people would consume far fewer resources on the earth, so far fewer resources for oil and gasoline and electricity and water and all this kind of stuff. But even if we were to have huge families, if we were living truly ethically in nature, completely self-sustainable, we wouldn't need to worry about struggling to make ends meet with 2 or 3 jobs or 4 jobs. Basically, we would be working in the land. We would be growing as much food as we can, trying to get a little bit more land so we can protect nature and live in small knit communities and this kind of thing. And we wouldn't have this notion that, I need to have a vasectomy or tubal ligation. I need to tie myself because there's too many people on the earth. We wouldn't have any of that concept, especially if we were not born in traditional society. If we were born in nature, in a community of like-minded people, of our soul family, and biological family, we would not have any concept of overpopulation. We would just do what is natural for our biological innate necessities. So it's a concept. Overpopulation is a concept of society, because the governments and all these people above, they want to reduce the population. Some people say to 500 million people. I really don't know, because we really don't know what the actual number of humans are on the earth. We really don't know. There's a lot of people that are not even parts of a lot of communities or things like this that have home births and they don't register their children and all this kind of thing. Yeah, by the way, fantastic. Don't register your child. It's slavery, and if they register, there's going to be huge negative consequences to registering your child. Get out of society altogether. Slowly, slowly, if you can. Go to rural areas. Warm climates. I don't mean Florida. I don't mean California. I mean warm climates. I mean subtropical or tropical areas where you can grow your food all year round. And it's beautiful and warm. Look at this nature right here. I don't know if you can see properly. Let me see. This nature right behind me. It's a little bit kind of bright because it's kind of, oh, there we go. Oh, sometimes the lighting is not so good. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know if you can see now, but yeah, so overpopulation is a hoax. We need to get out of cities and towns. Any megapolitan area, even small towns, get out of there. Go to warm places where you can grow your food all year round. If you like winter, cold blizzard weather, and if you like cold weather, biologically, when we're eating healthy, when we're eating mostly fruits and veggies, raw, and we're drinking mostly juices and all this kind of stuff, freshly squeezed juices, and we're doing this for a longer period of time, our body temperature goes down a little bit. And we like warm weather. Me, I can't stand cold weather. I love warm, hot weather. Not so much humid weather, especially when I'm physically working in the land. But I love warm weather. Very warm weather, yeah. Give me 30 degrees anytime, baby. 35 anytime. So that is the thing when it comes to this overpopulation issue. Ancestral humans had no concept of overpopulation, had no idea what that meant, because it's nonsense. It's part of society. So I got a vasectomy years ago. In fact, I got the vasectomy, I think about 10 years ago. Wow, it's anniversary, 10-year vasectomy anniversary. Yeah. And in some way, I think it was good because at the time, I don't think I was meant to have a child. Maybe nowadays, maybe. But before, I didn't want to have children. I had sex with dozens of women. And yeah, I just didn't want to have children. I just, at the time, didn't want to. Nowadays, yeah, why not? We're biologically supposed to have children. And yeah, some people think, oh, humans should not procreate. And in fact, the population should go down drastically. The problem with this way of thinking is a loud truck. The problem with this way of thinking is that, okay, if humans go extinct, all the other beings and nature, by the way, nature is a being, all the other beings would benefit from us not being here, right? But there's a reason why humans are here. There's always a reason. I think that reason is to rediscover, to get closer and rediscover, rediscover, I guess, and get reconnected and closer to the Spirit. The Spirit is unconditional love. The Spirit is unconditional love. But nowadays, most of humanity so lost that we don't know what unconditional love really is, what it means, and how to live life unconditionally. We don't know. We're killing, we're stabbing, we're supporting violence at every moment with our food, with our purchases, with our actions, all of which has negative repercussions. And it goes against the natural laws. So we need to realize that this whole overpopulation thing is nonsense, and we should not be afraid of giving birth, especially if we're out in the rural areas and all those kind of things. Some people think, oh, I don't have money, or I don't have a lot of money to be supporting or to be having a child and supporting a child. Now, I can understand this because that's what I thought also before I got my vasectomy. But there's always ways to do things, to adopt. And I don't mean adopt from government, through government agencies, but privately adopting children or a child. Basically, it's all about doing what is natural as possible. Of course, looking at this camera and recording this and uploading it, this kind of thing is not natural. I wouldn't be here talking about these issues and sharing these videos through Peaceful Village. I wouldn't be doing this if we all were living unconditionally, loving towards all life, and we were all in nature, living and working in harmony with nature. We're not. So now I'm telling people, and other people like myself are telling people, basically all we need to do is get closer to the Spirit, to unconditional love. And unconditional love doesn't include slaughterhouses, doesn't include wars and violence and tanks and guns and machines and weapons. No, machines, yes, certain types of machines, but weapons or violence against each other or violence towards other beings or violence towards nature. None of that. Unconditional love means that we love every single being, regardless of race, color, species, anything like that. So this is the teaching, basically, is that people like us, and of course we don't have all the answers, but people like us are just trying to reawaken people, to instill that love in people, to say, hey, there's a better way to live. There's a better way to live. You know that. We, all of us, deep in our hearts. What is the heart, basically? The heart is where love is. Unconditional love. It's not where violence is. It's not where stealing is. It's not where anything is. In fact, our whole being, our whole body, physical and mental, emotional, and spiritual body has nothing to do with violence. I don't care if you see a lion, or a tiger or a jaguar killing animals in nature. They do so because for them it's necessary to be able to survive and to thrive. For us, it's not necessary in order to thrive and survive. And if someone is in an area where they cannot grow food, then they go somewhere else where you can grow food. Plain and simple. Oh, I don't have money, I don't have this, I don't have... Stop making excuses. Once we set an intention that, hey, I really need to do this. I really want to do this. I need to do this. I need to grow all of my own food, and I need to be in a warm place. And we meditate on that. We manifest it. We make prayers. We do whatever we need to. We will get there. We will get wherever we want. But we're making damn excuses, not doing it, not growing food. We're destroying forests instead. and still so lost and programmed and wounded and becoming sicker and sicker and sicker, living in these polluted places. Let's go back to nature. This is the whole key, and the whole take is really about unconditionally loving all beings, not using any living being at all. Doing our best to conserve nature and to grow as much food as we possibly can for ourselves, and stop relying on the system for our food, water, shelter, electricity, all this kind of stuff. We gotta start relying on the inner healing and the outer healing also. Pristine environments, pristine water from the rain, from the rivers, all this kind of thing. But no, we're so blind, and we're so dead, and we're so distraught. Humans are lost. We really don't know anything. We're really not intelligent. And now that I'm learning more and more and connecting more and more with plants and other animals, it's incredible how and what they can do and what they can exhibit, and how they live their lives. And they're so intelligent. They know a lot. We're reading, for example, and we saw a documentary called The Secret Life of Plants. And there's also a book that we are starting to read, The Secret Life of Plants. Beautiful. There's a lot of scientific studies with machines and all this kind of thing, and hooking up to the plants and this sort of thing, which we don't know if it really disturbs and harms the plants. But yeah, it talks more about how the plants are so intelligent and they respond to certain things, and they're more intelligent than we are. We have no clue how to live life unconditionally loving. They do. They absolutely do. Now, of course, there may be some plants that wrap around, they're parasitic, and they wrap around other plants and choke them, or other ones that have big spines or things like this, or grass or this kind of stuff that takes over and destroys everything. But ultimately, that is only because of destroying nature, and then we get all those parasitic weeds growing. So, going back to overpopulation, I just want to recap what is in this video. But basically, overpopulation is an issue, but only in towns and cities. People are working far too many hours and too many jobs because they have to make it in society, and also because people are materialistic, so they're buying more than they need. Their expenses are way higher than their income. So imagine you make let's say $80,000, but expenses are $100,000 or $150,000. So imagine that. And most people have even a bigger debt. They get all kinds of debts. Car payments, house payments, or mortgages. Then they have payments on other things, other kinds of things. I don't know. I mean, kitchen appliances, laundry appliances, this kind of thing. They got debts, maybe because they cannot pay it, and they pay monthly payments on that, or whatever it is. So, yeah, we just need to get back to nature and do what is naturally biological for our species, which is, it's not a problem to procreate. At least most of the animals, or almost entirely all the animals, that are able to procreate in nature, and they do so frequently. I see many animals having sex all the time. I mean, at least a few times a week I see animals making it. Yeah, making what? Making love. That's what they do. Make love. And often they separate or they're together for life. Usually they separate. Yeah, the male and the female go in different directions. But anyways, that's it for this video, 40 minutes in. So thank you for joining me. Again, I'm Michael Anfield from Peaceful Village, Raw Vegan Healing Community. And I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget, overpopulation is a hoax. Don't believe any of that nonsense. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for coming to Peaceful Village.